Your secret weapon. 5 narcissist weaknesses that will make them lose control. We often talk about the narcissist as if they are an immovable object, a psychological titan who holds all the cards, dictates the reality of the room, and possesses an almost supernatural ability to sniff out your insecurities. They present a facade of polished marble, cool, and impenetrable. But if you look closer, through the lens of clinical psychology and human behavioral patterns, you'll realize that marble is actually unbaked clay, brittle and riddled with hairline fractures. The narcissist doesn't have a core. They have a vacuum where a self should be. This vacuum is protected by a high-definition, meticulously curated false self. When you understand that their entire existence is a desperate 24/7 campaign to keep that false self from shattering, you realize that they aren't powerful, they are terrified. They are playing a high-stakes game of poker with a hand full of zeros, and their only move is to make you blink first. To truly reclaim your power, you have to stop looking at their strength and start identifying the structural weaknesses in their psyche. These aren't just personality flaws. They are deep developmental glitches that occur when a human being fails to develop object, constancy, or a stable sense of self-worth. When you lean into these weaknesses, not out of malice, but out of a commitment to your own reality, the narcissist loses their grip. They lose the ability to regulate their emotions because they've outsourced that regulation to you for years. By reclaiming your emotional autonomy, you effectively pull the plug on their life support system. Here are the 5 psychological pressure points, the secret weapons that cause the narcissistic facade to crumble. 1. The mirror of accountability. Exposure to the truth. There is nothing a narcissist fears more than a mirror that reflects their actual behavior rather than their projected image. In the world of psychological theory, narcissists rely heavily on splitting, a primitive defense mechanism where they categorize themselves as all good and anyone who challenges them as all bad. When you calmly, methodically, and undeniably present them with the truth, the emails they actually sent, the words they actually spoke, the money they actually spent, you are forcing them to confront a reality that doesn't fit their all-good narrative. This creates an internal state of cognitive dissonance, so painful that they will do almost anything to escape it. For the narcissist, the truth isn't just an inconvenience. It is a narcissistic injury. It feels like a physical assault on their soul because their entire identity is built on a lie. When you hold up this mirror, the reaction is almost always a shame-rage cycle because they lack the psychological skin to handle even a drop of shame. That shame immediately transmutes into externalized anger. They will scream, deflect, or bring up something you did 7 years ago, anything to move the spotlight away from their own reflection. For the victim, this stage is harrowing because the narcissist's rage is designed to make you back down, apologize, and fix the mirror so they look good again. This is where gaslighting becomes a survival tool for them. They need to convince you that your eyes are lying so that they don't have to admit they are flawed. To protect yourself, you must practice radical reality testing. Keep your logs, keep your receipts, and most importantly, stop trying to get them to agree with the truth. Your weapon isn't their admission of guilt. It's your own unwavering knowledge of what is real. Once you stop needing them to see the truth, they lose their power to distort yours. Expert commentary. Narcissistic injury occurs when the false self is threatened by reality. Because the narcissist lacks an internal governor to manage shame, they experience a primitive form of annihilation anxiety. They feel as though they are literally disappearing, which is why their defensive rage is so out of proportion to the situation. 2. The silence of the gray rock. Withdrawal of emotional supply. To understand why indifference is a narcissist's kryptonite, you have to understand the concept of narcissistic supply. A narcissist is like a high-end sports car with no fuel tank. They have to stop at every gas station to fill up on attention, whether that attention is praise or high-octane conflict. They don't just want you to love them. They want you to react to them. When you cry, plead, defend yourself, or even get angry, you are confirming their importance. You are telling them, you have the power to alter my emotional state. This fuels their sense of omnipotence. But when you implement the gray rock method, becoming as boring, unreactive, and emotionally flat as a literal rock, you are starving them of the very air they breathe. When the supply runs dry, the narcissist enters a state of narcissistic decompensation. They start to fall apart. You'll see them try to up the ante with more dramatic behavior, more vicious insults, or even sudden hoovering feigned kindness to get a rise out of you. This is the extinction burst, the final desperate attempt to get the old response back before they realize the well is dry. For the victim, staying gray rock is incredibly difficult because it goes against our human instinct for connection and defense. It feels cold. It feels unnatural. But psychologically, it is the only way to signal to the narcissist's primitive brain that you are no longer a viable source of energy. By becoming boring, you become useless to their ego, and they will eventually be forced to look elsewhere for their fix. 3. The iron wall, the implementation of hard boundaries. Narcissists view other people not as separate individuals with their own needs, but as self-objects, extensions of themselves designed to serve a purpose. In their mind, your no is a glitch in the system. When you set a boundary, you are performing an act of individuation, which is the narcissist's worst nightmare. By saying, you may not speak to me in that tone, or I am hanging up now, you are asserting that you are a separate entity with your own agency. This shatters the narcissist's illusion of enmeshment, where they believe they have total control over your thoughts and feelings. To them, a boundary isn't a healthy limit. It's an act of rebellion and betrayal. The reaction to a hard boundary is usually a tactical smear campaign or a discard. They will tell everyone how difficult or unstable you've become because you've stopped being a compliant tool. Psychologically, this is a form of projective identification. They take their own feelings of being out of control and project them onto you, claiming you are the one who has changed for the worse. For the victim, setting boundaries often feels like inviting a storm into your house. You've been conditioned to keep the peace, which really means keep the narcissist happy, and the sudden tension can feel like failure. But this tension is actually the sound of your own soul returning to you. Healing requires understanding that a boundary without a consequence is just a suggestion. If they cross the line, you must leave the room, end the call, or cut the tie. You aren't punishing them, you are protecting the sanctity of your own mental health. 4. Public failure, the threat to the golden child image. Because the narcissist has no internal self-worth, they are entirely dependent on external validation. They are only as good as their last achievement, their most recent win, or the way the neighbors perceive them. This makes public exposure or failure a catastrophic weakness. If a narcissist is caught in a lie in front of an audience, or if their professional reputation takes a hit, they experience what is known as malignant shame. Unlike normal shame, which can lead to self-reflection, malignant shame is an ego-dissolving poison. They will go to war to protect their reputation because in their mind, if the image dies, they die. This is why they are so obsessed with status and looking the part. They are building a fortress of optics to hide the trembling child inside. When the public mask slips, the narcissist often pivots to the victim archetype. If they can't be the hero, they will be the most persecuted martyr in history. They will twist the failure to make it look like a witch hunt or a conspiracy. For the victim, witnessing this can be confusing. You see the cracks, but the narcissist is working overtime to plaster them over with fresh lies. The strategy for protection here is documentation and distance. Do not be the one to expose them publicly if it puts you in danger. Narcissists are at their most dangerous when they have nothing left to lose. Instead, simply step back and let the natural consequences of their behavior do the work. Eventually, the weight of their own lies becomes too heavy for even them to carry. Your weapon is your silence while the world watches them stumble. 5. Your joy, the radiance of your autonomy, perhaps the most potent secret weapon, and the one that causes the most profound loss of control for the narcissist, is your own genuine, independent happiness. To a narcissist, your joy is an insult. It is proof that you don't need them to be okay. Remember, their entire power structure is built on the idea that they are the sun and you are a planet trapped in their orbit. When you find a hobby, a new friend group, or a sense of inner peace that has nothing to do with them, you are effectively declaring your independence from their zero-sum game. They view your autonomy as a personal theft of their supply. This leads to a behavior called devaluation. The moment they see you thriving, they will try to pop the balloon of your happiness. They will make a snide comment about your new passion or create a crisis the moment you have something to celebrate. Psychologically, this is fueled by pathological envy. They cannot feel joy for you because they cannot feel genuine joy for themselves. They only feel relief when they are on top. For the victim, the cleanup here is the most important part of the journey. You have to realize that you are not selfish for being happy. You have to unlearn the habit of minimizing your wins to keep them from feeling insecure. The ultimate revenge and the ultimate protection is a life lived well. When you become untouchable by their moods, when your smile is no longer dependent on their approval, you have won. They lose control because they can no longer pull your strings. The road to recovery, reclaiming the narrative, navigating a relationship with a narcissist is like trying to build a house on shifting sand. You spend all your energy trying to stabilize a foundation that was never meant to hold weight. But by identifying these 5 weaknesses, you stop trying to fix the sand and start building your own solid ground. Acceptance. You must accept that they will never get it. Their brain is wired for survival, not connection. Detachment. Use the observer role. Watch their tantrums like a scientist watching a specimen. It's not about you. It's about their internal glitch. Self-care. Your nervous system is likely fried from years of hypervigilance. Healing involves bottom-up regulation, somatic work, breathing, and finding safety in your own body. The narcissist loses control when you stop trying to control them and start exercising total control over yourself. When you no longer fear their rage, no longer crave their crumbs of affection, and no longer believe their distorted version of reality, they become powerless. You aren't just surviving. You are reclaiming the throne of your own life.